Whether you're into comedians roasting each other's life choices or turning yesterday's bad decisions into today's funny stories, Amazon Music's got the most ad-free top podcasts, included with Prime. Download the Amazon Music app and get in on the joke, or go to amazon.com/ad-free-comedy. That's amazon.com/ad-free-comedy to catch up on the latest episodes without the ads.
Welcome to the 5-Minute History podcast from 5minutehistory.com, where we take a historical look at things in about 5 minutes. If you enjoy the show and would like to support us, please consider buying us a coffee. Head on over to 5minutehistory.com/coffee to see how. This is episode 81, The History of Sydney. Let's start at the very beginning. Long before the Opera House, long before the Harbour Bridge, Sydney was home to the Eora Nation, a group of Aboriginal peoples who had lived in the region for tens of thousands of years. The Gadigal people, in particular, occupied much of what is now central Sydney. These communities thrived by fishing, hunting and gathering, and maintained a deep spiritual connection to the land. Their culture was rich, their language complex, and their knowledge of the environment incredibly advanced. Archaeological evidence suggests people have lived in the Sydney Basin for over 30,000 years. Shell middens, rock engravings, and sacred sites across the region still bear witness to this deep and continuing connection. Everything changed in 1788 when the first fleet of British ships arrived, led by Captain Arthur Phillip. They landed in Sydney Cove, naming it after British Home Secretary Lord Sydney. The purpose? To establish a penal colony. Britain needed a new place to send convicts, and Australia fit the bill. The early years were brutal. Food was scarce, the land unfamiliar, and the settlers unprepared. Convicts were put to work building shelters and clearing land. Meanwhile, the arrival of Europeans had a catastrophic impact on the local Aboriginal population. Diseases like smallpox swept through communities, and violent clashes became increasingly common. One Aboriginal warrior named Penal led a resistance campaign against the British that lasted over a decade. By the early 1800s, the colony began to grow. Land grants attracted free settlers, and Sydney started to look more like a small town than a prison camp. Under Governor Lachlan Macquarie, appointed in 1810, Sydney saw its first real wave of urban development. Roads were built, hospitals established, and public buildings constructed. Macquarie also encouraged a civil society by supporting banking, education, and religion. His vision helped transform Sydney into a functioning and ambitious colonial city. Then came the gold. In the 1850s, the discovery of gold in New South Wales and Victoria brought a surge of new migrants to Australia. While most were heading for the goldfields, Sydney still saw huge growth. Immigrants from Europe, North America, and China flooded into the colony. The city expanded rapidly, suburbs sprang up, and infrastructure like railways, schools, and markets followed. By the time Australia became a federated nation in 1901, Sydney was already the largest and most influential city in the country. Although Canberra was chosen as the capital, Sydney remained the beating heart of New South Wales and a major player in national life. A defining moment in the city's development came in 1932 with the opening of the Sydney Harbour Bridge. It connected the northern and southern shores of the harbour and became a vital piece of the city's infrastructure. It also gave Sydney one of its most recognisable landmarks. 4 decades later, in 1973, the Sydney Opera House joined the skyline. Designed by Danish architect Jørn Utzon, the building quickly became a global symbol of modern Australia. But Sydney is more than just steel and sails. It's a city of people and migration. From the post-war years onward, Sydney opened its arms to immigrants from Italy, Greece, Lebanon, Vietnam, India, and China, among many others. Today, over 40% of the city's population was born overseas. Its neighbourhoods are filled with a diversity of food, languages, and traditions. From the Lebanese bakeries of Lakemba to the Vietnamese markets of Cabramatta, Sydney's cultural richness is one of its greatest strengths. In the year 2000, Sydney stepped onto the world stage in a big way by hosting the Summer Olympic Games. The event was a huge success and showed off not just the city's beauty, but its organisation, energy, and multicultural spirit. By the early 21st century, Sydney had become a financial powerhouse, a hub for the arts, and a magnet for tourism. But it hasn't all been smooth sailing. Like many global cities, Sydney faces serious challenges. Housing affordability is a constant concern. Traffic congestion tests the patience of locals, and debates over development versus preservation continue to shape the city's future. Environmental issues are also front and centre. Sydney, with its beaches, bushland, and waterways, is vulnerable to the effects of climate change. Water security, urban heat, and sustainability are now key parts of city planning. There's also a growing focus on acknowledging and preserving Sydney's Aboriginal heritage. Cultural sites are being protected, Indigenous place names are being revived, and public institutions are embracing Aboriginal perspectives. The city is beginning, slowly but surely, to reckon with its past and recognise the enduring legacy of the First Peoples. So, what does Sydney look like today? It's a city of contradictions. It's ancient and modern. It's rich and diverse, but not without inequality. It's globally connected but shaped by local traditions. It is at once a natural wonderland and a concrete jungle. From its earliest days as the land of the Gadigal people, through its years as a convict colony, and into its current role as a global city, Sydney has never stopped evolving. It is a place of resilience, reinvention, and reinvigoration. And whether you're gazing out over the harbour, walking through the rocks, catching a train through the suburbs, or sipping coffee in a multicultural cafe, you're standing in the layers of a story that's still being written. Thanks for listening to the 5-Minute History podcast from 5minutehistory.com. If you enjoy the show and would like to support us, please leave us a review wherever you get your podcasts, and don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss any future episodes. If you would like to support us more directly, then please consider buying us a coffee. Head on over to 5minutehistory.com/coffee to see how. You may also be interested in our other 5-minute podcasts, which you can find at 5minuteproductions.com. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next time.